Hi friends, welcome to Avi's Academy. Here I'll be discussing some of the concepts of commerce, management and economics which you all be learning in your undergraduation and post-graduation level of education. One characteristics that defines the evolution of human being is their ability to move from one situation to another, one place to another. We Homo sapiens started our life as nomadics, and we started moving from one place to another in search of food, in search of shelter, and in search of certain other basic needs. Even if we consider the phenomena in 13th and 14th century of naval exploration where Europeans started to move from their continent to different continent, especially in search of spices and other necessary things, and that led to the discovery of several continents. Their entry into different regions, different countries, and they started their colonial they started their colonialism. So similarly, when an entrepreneur, when he starts his business, due to when his business doesn't give him a rosy picture, he intends to move from that business to another business. Such movement can be termed entrepreneurial mobility. So today we will be discussing about entrepreneurial mobility. What does it stands for? What are the factors that influences entrepreneurial ability, and what are the types of mobility we can see in case of entrepreneurial mobility? So let's discuss about what does entrepreneurial mobility stands for. So, entrepreneurial mobility, we can say the movement of entrepreneurs from one location to another and or from one occupation to another, which affect the pace and pattern of entrepreneurship development. We will take some keywords. Movement of entrepreneurs. Movement of entrepreneurs means entrepreneurs are moving from one place or one profession or from one occupation to another. So that's what they mentioned in the next or continuing sentence. Movement of entrepreneurs from one location to another. So they are moving from one location to another. Maybe the reason could be they have found cheaper source of raw material there, or the infrastructural facility available in another location is much more better than where they were already set up their business. So that may make, or that may stimulate them to move from their current location to a newer location, and or from one occupation to another. At the same time, they may change their business as well. From current business, they move towards a new sort of a business. Maybe the current business where the demand may not be going up, or there are no scope for future growth, or maybe the business is dying. Uh, Due to variety of reasons, they even change their occupation, which affect. And when these movement happen, locational movement, where when they move from one place to another, and occupational movement, when they move from one occupation to another, this will affect the pace, the speed of entrepreneurship development, and even the pattern of entrepreneurship development pace, because when they change continuously, the speed of entrepreneurship development will be very slow. And if you take the pattern of entrepreneurship development, maybe from one particular sector they move towards another sector which they consider to be a prospective one. So this will affect when entrepreneurs move from one location to another, an occupation to another. This will affect the speed and structure or pattern of entrepreneurship development. This itself can be called as entrepreneurial mobility. Whether entrepreneurial mobility is good or bad for himself and for the country or economy is always debatable. There are certain factors which forces him to move from one location to another, or from one occupation to another. The factors, maybe we can broadly say, they are push factors and pull factors. The factors that pushes him to move from one locality to another can be called as a push factor, because it is through force. He may be he doesn't have any intention to move from that one locality to another, or from one occupation to another, but due to some force, he takes a decision to move to that particular locality. Similarly, there could be some factors that induce him to move towards that particular locality. Maybe the infrastructural facility which they have in their vicinity in the new location, or the government policies in the new location, that may induce him to move towards that towards better location. So apart from that, there are certain other factors that influences entrepreneurial mobility. Let us consider such factors. First of all, we can say education is one factor that influences entrepreneurs intention to move from one occupation to another, or from one location to another. An entrepreneur must be an educated person. The reason is, in an enterprise, an entrepreneur generally plays multifaceted and distinct and distinguishing roles. He has to act like a leader, not acting like a leader. He is a leader. He himself being a leader, he has to motivate employees. He has to work with his employees as a team member. He has to build a better network. All those things he has to do. His education, the formal education or the executive education which he gets from educational institution, will help him in many situations. The education which he gets will enable him to apply some of the concepts of management to take managerial decisions or entrepreneurial level of decisions. And at the same time, during his maybe during his executive education or management education days, he may build up some contact who already become an entrepreneur, or is they may be his peers, or some of them might have already become successful, or they may be considered as successful entrepreneurs. The network which he builds will enable him to take intellectual resources, I mean take some advices from those entrepreneurs uh, whenever he is in need of. At the same time, whenever he needs funds, or under certain emergency situation, whenever he encounters the shortage of fund, the network he builds will help him to get the funds easily. So for all these reasons, we can say education will influence the entrepreneurial mobility from one occupation or location to another. The second factor that influences entrepreneurial mobility is experience. There are no alternatives for the experience which he gains if he is working, if he is already working for an organization. Prior experience in previous organization will enable him to identify better or prospective business opportunity. If we take the example of WhatsApp, Brian Acton and one more, the name I couldn't remember, Brian Acton and I think Jan Combe, they were working for Yahoo prior to 2006. 2006, they leave Yahoo, and they apply for a post in Facebook, but both of them got rejected by the Facebook. Then one of them purchases an Apple mobile phone, and they realize there are a lot of potentials uh, if they develop an app and then they upload it to App Store. They take the field of messenger app, because prior to 2006, prior to 2007, I would say, BBM, that is BlackBerry Messenger, is dominating that field. Only I think BlackBerry is the only company that was offering messenger services, they wanted to develop such software, and they developed one which they call it as WhatsApp. So this is possible because of their prior experience in Yahoo. So likewise, the experience anybody gets in their prior business will always help him, and that experience may enable him to identify a better prospective business, and thereby he may move from his current occupation to another occupation. So that is about experience. The third factor is availability of facility. uh, for an enterprise to develop, there should be proper infrastructure, there should be proper financial resources, proper maybe communication facility, a good and stable government. All those facilities are required. If in one particular region such facilities are not available, then uh, an entrepreneur may be forced to move from that location to another location. So availability of facility in terms of raw materials, in terms of market facility and infrastructure, will forces an entrepreneur to move from one region to another. And the next factor is political condition. The political condition, or the yeah political condition prevailing in a country or in particular region or state, also influences an entrepreneur's decision to move. If we take the example, though it is not related to entrepreneurial mobility, but if we take the example of nano project, nano project, West Bengal government has got the nano project, and it was supposed to start in a place called Singur in West Bengal, but due to political pressure, or due to political influence, Tata has to shift their nano project from West Bengal to Gujarat, Sanand in Gujarat. These situation an entrepreneur can also face due to some political pressure. They have to move from one location to another, even though there may not be any political pressure, but the current political condition in a particular region or state, and if we identify another region where political condition or situation is favorable to him, that may induce him to move towards that particular locality. So we can say political conditions also influences what manage sorry entrepreneurial mobility. Next factor is size of enterprises. They say larger companies can easily move because of the resources they have. When I say they are moving, they will not leave the current business, they will identify another prospective business, and they move. Big entrepreneurs, they usually do that, but for small entrepreneurs it will be difficult, because first of all there will be lack of resources, maybe financial or other resources, in the case of small entrepreneurs. So moving from one business to another, it will be very difficult for them. So we can say larger companies, or larger or bigger entrepreneurs, their frequency of movement from one occupation to another is more compared to smaller entrepreneurs. So these are the factors that influences entrepreneurial mobility. Let us consider the next topic, which is types of entrepreneurial mobility. Uh, the entrepreneurial mobility based on movement and settlement of entrepreneurs can be categorized as occupational mobility, categorized as occupational mobility and locational mobility. I mean, in the meaning itself, we made a mention of that. Entrepreneurs move from one occupation to another, which is occupational mobility, and from one place to another, or from one location to another, which is locational mobility. Let us discuss about occupational mobility. So, occupational mobility, as the name of the word implies, it's change of occupation. Entrepreneurs from their current occupation or current business, they move towards another business. This can be categorized as intergeneration movement and intra-generation movement. Intergeneration movement means his he's an entrepreneur. He is moving from his previous generation's occupation to a newer occupation. Maybe his parent, I mean his father, maybe into one particular business, and since that entrepreneurial culture is developed in their family, he also in search of some prospective businesses. So this will make him to uh, to start his business in a newer area or newer field than what is already existing. So the entrepreneurial culture developed in their family itself induce such movement, intergeneration movement. And on the other hand, there could be intra-generation movement. Intra-generation movement maybe because of the pull and push factors. So here the entrepreneur, when he starts his business, he will be doing one business, and later he will be moving to another business because he finds a prospect in newer business. So this can be called as intra-generation movement. If you take the case of Sachin Bansal, the man who founded along with Bini Bansal, the man who founded Indian e-commerce website, e-commerce company, Flipkart. So he leaves Flipkart in the year 2015 or 16. Then he currently acts like a venture capitalist or angel investor. Maybe from his e-commerce business he find a better business prospect, or maybe due to some reason he has moved on, he wanted to be an venture capitalist where he wants to put his money for a certain years in a prospective business or a startup company. Then he will take the money and invest in some other prospective business. This can be an example for intra generation movement, because he himself, Sachin Bansal himself, starts he was working for Amazon. That was uh, before starting Flipkart. He was in e-commerce business. He starts a new business in e-commerce, then now he acts like a venture capitalist or angel investor. This can be called as intra-generation movement. Next, and the last factor, I mean last type of entrepreneurial mobility is locational mobility. Locational mobility is nothing but movement from one region to another. This mobility depends upon factors like availability of raw material, availability of financial, I mean funds, availability of funds, or maybe the better infrastructural facility available in another location, cheaper labor which is available in another region, or maybe closeness to market, resources, experience, or some other factor will contribute towards locational mobility. So we can say these two mobility can be collectively called as entrepreneurial mobility. Though we say these are types, but these two types actually defines entrepreneurial mobility. So that's for today, the concept of entrepreneurial mobility, wherein we discussed what is entrepreneurial mobility, what are the factors that influences entrepreneurial mobility, and what are the types of how we can categorize the entrepreneurial mobility based on their movement, occupational movement and regional movement. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel Avi's Academy by clicking subscribe button. And if you want to get continuous notification on the videos which I'm going to upload in the future days, please press bell icon.